Shalom, shalom. Kalalal, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Now, before I get started, I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rekah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS. To you I say shalom, and shalom unto the hopeful elect. And I just want to do a follow-up. Well, I think this is going to be a part 2 to the video that I made back on June 24th, and I believe it was titled as How Shall Then His Kingdom Stand. It was going into how Donald J. Trump disrespected one of his congressmen, Thomas Massie. He called Thomas Massie a bum, and just because Thomas Massie didn't agree with how he was running things. And that pretty much shows that this kingdom is divided against itself, and that it's not going to stand for much longer if this continues. So this is just more information coming out about that, because now Representatives Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene are trying to bring forth a petition to forcefully bring out the Epstein files. The full Epstein files, which Trump, he doesn't want to bring the full Epstein files out. I wonder why, because he's probably on the list, and the people that put him in that position that he's in right now are on that list. So he's not only trying to protect himself, he's probably trying to protect those that are over him. And he has a job to do, and that pertains to the Secret Council of the Wicked. The Secret Council of the Wicked is over Trump, and he has to do their bidding. But yeah, this clearly shows that America is divided against itself, and that starts with the leadership. The leadership is not on the same page, which America is not a nation. It's not functioning like a nation, because if it was functioning like a nation, everybody would be on the same page. Really, America is functioning like a corporation. Okay, a corporation. Now, the word corporation, it goes back to the word corpus, I believe, which corpus means a corpse. That's what it means, dead. And when you look at a corporation on how it functions, it has what? It has CEOs, it has executives, it has prime ministers, it has presidents. Why does America have all those things? Why does America have a president? It shouldn't be that way. Really, a nation is supposed to have a monarchy, a king, and even sometimes a queen, and it's supposed to be governed by theocracy. America isn't governed that way. And you know what theocracy it means? It means the rule of God. So you have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You have to go by the word. Now, if you want to get a good idea or a better understanding on how a nation is supposed to function in righteousness, you should read Exodus, the 24th chapter, because that's when the nation of Israel, they came together under one consent, saying that they're going to serve Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai to the fullest. And that's what they did. Yahweh became their power, and then they became the servants of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And what were they given? They were given laws, statutes, and commandments to govern themselves. America doesn't function like that. That's how a nation is supposed to function. America functions like a corporation. And I'm going to say this, man. If you're a part of a corporation, you're called what? You're called an employee. Now, as an employee, you're just a number. And that's what you are in America. You're just a fucking number. That's why you're given a SIN number. That's why you're given a birth certificate. And that's why you're given a passport. And if you don't have those documents, you're useless. And those documents don't represent you as a person or as that individual. That's really not you. That's just your straw man. That's just your persona that you have when you're going to work. So this place is like a corporation, man. You notice on those documents too, why is your name in all capital letters? That's not how you're supposed to write your name when you go into proper spelling and grammar. That's not how you're supposed to write your name. Your the first letter of your name is supposed to be capitalized, and then everything else, the letters afterwards, are supposed to be lowercase. But why is everything uppercase? Why is all the letters of your name uppercase? You know why? Because you're a business. You're just a number. That's your straw man. And you're state owned. You're property. So this is not a nation. This is a corporation. And a lot of people don't understand that. But yeah, so this is just more proof that America is circling down the drain. Now I'm going to read Matthew chapter 12. I'm going to start verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, yeah, of course, Yahushua knew the thoughts of men. Men's thoughts are vain and miserable. And these men that were before Yahushua were trying to trap him up and really trying to get rid of him. They hardened their hearts already before they asked certain questions to him. And he knew that. And this is why he's going to speak to them in parables, and he's going to let the Spirit expose these men. And that's how you have to be. That's how you have to be in this place, man. I'm slowly getting better at it. I want to master. I want to master how to use the Spirit like how Yahushua did, in terms of letting the Spirit expose people, man. I understand it. I understand it in theory, but I'm still developing that experience. Still developing that. Anyways, it says, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. So if I'm Satan casting out Satan, how does that make sense? Right? That don't make sense. So how can I be a devil if I'm casting out devils? But anyways, and that's what you do. You gotta speak in parables, and you gotta use psychology on people. But I just want to focus on this. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And America isn't going to stand for too long. It's not going to stand. It's not going to really stand anymore if it keeps going, if it keeps moving like this. Starting with the leadership. If the leadership is not on the same page, then not going to do too well. Not going to do too well. Now let me get a precept. Actually, let me just read a little bit of the article, and I'll get a precept. But it says, Representative Thomas Massie and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene have co-sponsored a discharge petition to bypass House leadership and compel a full vote on releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files. Yeah, so they want to bypass House leadership. So they want to go against Donald Trump's authority. Because Donald Trump, he doesn't want to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. Right? So, and you know why, because he's probably on the list, and the people that put him in power are on the list. So he has to protect himself and protect the people that put him in that position that he's in right now. Because it's going to cause an uproar. The proposed resolution, which Massie submitted alongside Representative O'Connor, is titled the Epstein Files Transparency Act and would require the Department of Justice to declassify and release all Epstein-related documents, including investigative records, communications, flight logs, visitors list, seal agreements, and any information involving known or suspected co-conspirators. We all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files. True, I think that's true. We deserve to know because it's been in the news for so long, and it's very controversial, and we know that's very disgusting and sick. We know for a fact that that island, they were doing some demonic things on that island, man. It's nasty. So why not give us some closure? If you're this great man that you say you are, and you have the power to bring forth justice and to bring some closure to this by bringing out these files, why don't you do it? Right? Why don't you do it? So it says, who's implicated and how deep this corruption goes. Americans were promised justice and transparency. Representative Massie wrote on X, we're introducing a discharge petition to force a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives on releasing the complete files. Massie emphasized the urgency and importance of this procedural tool. A discharge petition is a procedural tool for bypassing leadership. In 7 days, we can start collecting signatures. At 218 signatures, the House must vote on our bill requiring a full release of the Epstein files. If your representative won't sign the discharge petition, ask why. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene announced her full support. I'm proudly co-sponsoring and will sign the discharge petition. She wrote, I will never protect pedophiles or the elites in their circles. True. And I guess they're aware of the secret counsel of the wicked. You have to be, which is found in the Psalms, the 64th chapter. And they're a bunch of pedophiles, and they have a lot of fraternities and circles that they control the world with. Right, so yeah, so that just shows you they're against Trump not bringing this out, showing you they're not on the same page. Now let's get a precept. This is Galatians chapter 5 verse 15. And by the way, this precept is twofold. This is for individuals that are in the truth, and also this can be applied to people that are in the world. So it says, but if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed of one another. Yeah, this is very dangerous, sad and dangerous tendency. This is what happens when you're consumed by sin and you're not walking in the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. You'll just eat each other. You'll turn into a spiritual cannibal. You'll start consuming another brother, because you're not serving one another in love, which love, I mean, is going back to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. If ye have loved me, keep my commandments. All right, so that's the real love. So instead of serving one another in love and therein fulfilling the law of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai, you end up biting and devouring one another. And you may be consumed too. If you're trying to consume another brother, that another brother might come your way and he might consume you. And this is what takes place if you're not in the spirit and you're not doing the right thing in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai. But I'm just using this to further prove a point. This is what America, starting with its leadership, is doing. They're taking each other down. Really, they're supposed to be working with each other, but they're not, which shows you there is no love. There is no love, and this is a cold world. You know why it's a cold world? And there's no love because they're not following the law, statutes, and commandments. And it shows you, man, this is not a righteous rulership. This is not a righteous kingdom. Why are they taking each other down? Why is he not releasing the full Epstein files? Why do you have to petition to bring this out when we know that Epstein's a scumbag? Like, it's a known fact. So, hey, that's what happens. So, instead of acting like a real Israelite, a Hebrew Israelite that serves Yahweh Shai, you're really behaving like a brute beast. And that's how these people that are ruling, and even individuals in the truth, that's how they're acting. They're acting like brute beasts, man. A brute beast, they only walk by sight. They don't walk by faith. And they're fucking carnal as hell. And that's the people that are over you in this society. They're carnal as hell. Carnal as hell. Bunch of beasts, man. A good chapter to go into is Psalms, the 73rd chapter. Because King David, he rebukes himself. He calls himself out and he said, man, I'm thinking like a goddamn beast. Because he was getting caught up in how the wicked were prospering in this world by doing wickedness. And he's like, how come I don't get things like that? How come things don't come easy to me? I'm doing all the right things. I'm serving the Lord. How come I'm not getting all these things? But then he realized, I'm not supposed to just walk by sight. I'm supposed to walk by faith. And it's about the long run, the long haul, things to come into the future. I'm going to reap a reward. Right? I'm going to reap a reward. So I shouldn't be jealous of these people that are doing good out here like that. So that's a good chapter to read. All right. So I just thought I'd bring this out. It just made me think about how you can devour one another. If you're not serving each other in love and fulfilling the law of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai, you just consume one another. Let me get another one. This is 2 Peter chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 9. The point will be made in verse 12. It says, the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh and the lust of uncleanliness, and despise government. True, you have individuals in this thing that despise government. They don't like the government. They don't like the government that Yahweh Bashim Yoshai set up, which starts with the elders, right? It starts with the elders of the camps, the different camps. Maybe you don't like them. You despise them. Because there's a different, well, not really like, despise. Despise and like are two different things. Hate and like are two different things. You may not like how someone acts. You know, they might not be pleasing to you. But that doesn't mean you hate them. Hate is different. Hate means you want to do harm to them, man. So like and hate are two different things. So I got to be careful with my words. But yes, you have individuals that really despise government, man. They really hate government. They want to see them go down. They want to see them get hurt. They want to do things to them. You got individuals like that in this thing of ours. Anyways, it says, presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. And Sakari, that guy comes to mind. And right now, you know, he made a video as of late. You know, if you don't know who Sakari is, that's Pegasus Alazay. He's the former head of the Sakari organization, which he's no longer in the faith. Now he's coming out and saying, I don't associate with being a Hebrew Israelite because he already rode the wave on that. He got exposed for being wicked as hell as a so-called high priest. But yeah, he spoke a lot of evils, man. He despised government. He's very self-willed. He did whatever he wanted. And now look where he is. Verse 11, whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these are natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not. And that's what happens. You know, men under the power of sin are so far from observing divine revelation. You know, what does that mean? They don't want to observe what the prophets say. They don't want to take heed to what the word says, which the word is Yahweh Shai. They start rejecting those things. They start rejecting counsel from the brotherhood. Whether it's a high-level brother in the camp or a low-level brother. Because, you know, the scripture says we are subject unto one another. So we have to listen to each other. Right? We do. So you have, you know, this is what happens. You know, men under the power of sin are so far from observing divine revelation that it's to the point where they reject everything good, and then now they don't exercise reason. They don't know how to exercise reason. They don't know how to reason. Nor they don't know how to act accordingly to walking in the right direction. You know, they don't know how to walk in the right direction. Right. Salakia, man, I'm just going off the top of my head. You know, I'm just thinking about it as I'm bringing it out. It's very solemn, man. It's very solemn. But yeah, individuals that are natural brute beasts, they walk by sight and not by faith. And they only judge things according to their own natural senses. Right? So if it looks good, if it smells good, if it tastes good, then I'm going to go with it. They're not going into the spiritual senses, really looking at things and seeing if it's good or not. So that you don't want to be like this. You don't want to be a natural brute beast. And that's what's going on with the whole Epstein files. You know, with the American government. That's how they are, just a bunch of natural brute beasts. I know he doesn't want to bring this out because there's certain individuals who are probably in good standing in the eyes of the American people, and if they were to bring that out, it would cause problems. But you know, that's you that's you judging things according to your natural senses. You're just worried about how things will look. But anyways, man, that's just my thoughts on it. I want to bring this out because what you see here happening is going to happen full blown when all hell breaks loose, when the Lord comes back to visit this place, and when the Lord starts unleashing these plagues. You know, you Egyptians, you're gonna be at each other's throats. Right? You're gonna devour one another, and that's because You're ungodly. Now let me go into this. It says the message of Egypt, which we know America is Egypt in the spirit. Revelation 11 and 8. This place is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. So this is Isaiah chapter 19 verse 1. The burden of Egypt. Behold, Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. The idols going into your false gods, and also the people here, because certain people in this place, like you celebrities, they're idols as well. You're going to be moved at the Lord's presence. Hey, when the Lord, he cracks them skies, and he brings forth judgment, and you see him, and you people are going to be moved, and your hearts are going to melt. Your hearts are going to melt. You're not going to know what to do. Right? And everything that you believe in, all the counsel that you have taken from these idols and these witches and warlocks, and it ain't going to help you. Verse 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So yeah, you're divided. And you guys are going to be at each other's throats when the Lord comes back and all these plagues are let loose. Especially during the time of Jacob's trouble, martial law, and these concentration camps being erected. Hey man, you people are going to lose it. People are going to steal from one another. People are going to kill each other, eat each other too. When there's a lack of resources, when the power goes out, when your little smartphone doesn't work, when you can't drink liquor, when you can't get your medication, because you people are heavily medicated and you're dependent on drugs. So when that high wears out, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fight each other, man, like the animals you are, the brute beasts you are. So verse 3, it says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers. Yeah, you're gonna go to your witchcraft. Oh my God, Baal, please help me. Make it rain, Baal. Oh my gosh. You're gonna do your sacrifices. You're gonna do wickedness, man. You're gonna seek those wizards. You're gonna worship demons. What does it say here? And to charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of armies. And the water shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. They shall turn the rivers far away. The brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. The paper reeds by the brooks. Hold on, let me just move on down. Verse 8, it says, the fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brook shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the water shall languish. That's right, all your dainties will be taken away. Everything pleasant to you will be taken away. And all you're going to experience is sorrow. And what I really wanted to focus on was Egyptians against Egyptians, which means you are divided against yourself. And that's going to play out, man, when all hell breaks loose. So this is only the beginning. It's going to get worse. So anyways, that's all I got. So with that, I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom unto the hopeful elect. Kwame Ashal and Ababa Ball. Shalom.